You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, here we go. It is Monday, March 3rd, or March 2nd, excuse me. We get closer and closer to Friday's trade deadline. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, presented by Bet365. This is Leafs Morning Take, and it's deadline week, Rosie. It's here. But a couple months back, we feared this week if the Maple Leafs were sellers, but I'm very curious to see what they do over the next couple days, man. How are you?
Changed for, well, they might just to complete collapse and tear down being talked about through all the major outlets and lots of different people. It's kind of dark times, man, and I guess the only question yet to be answered is how dark are they going to be and how long is it going to be that way? A very interesting deadline this year, kind of unexpectedly, I guess you would say. Depends how far back you want to go, but a lot of eyes on the Leafs right now during this week and this deadline to see what they do.
You know, it's a legit week. We have a ticker. Look at those multiple tickers on the screen. You don't know what's going to flash across that ticker at this point.
I like it. That's pretty showtime. PuckPedia, ticker. Lots going on. Yeah, man, it's interesting. I wonder how fast things will go down, what type of year it'll be. Will things get done before the deadline? Will there be some 11th hour stuff? We know all about that doing the trade shows live, and sometimes stuff's breaking like crazy, and sometimes you're twiddling your thumbs waiting for things to happen. But I have a feeling moves will certainly be made for the Leafs, and there's just amount of, the only question is how and how much is going to happen here this week.
Got a lot of questions for you today. So I was at the game on Saturday, the Battle of Ontario. That really wasn't a battle. And, the word quit was used quite a bit. Pride, embarrassment, unacceptable. Plain and simple, the Maple Leafs quit on their coach because this is not one, but two, but three in a row after the Olympic break, where they had won three in a row going into the break. And just watching the game on Saturday, they looked like a wounded animal where they got just dissected by their provincial rivals.
It's lack of character, man. It's been my problem with this core group for a while now. They're immature and they don't have any ability to dig in. You look at that turnover William Nylander had, where I think it was the game before actually, and just the urgency or desperation or give a shit meter, like to turn it over, and then he just slowly hits the brakes with one and looks back and then comes to a complete stop and then kind of watches and then like that just says all you need to know. Players that have character and have leadership, they do that and they crank it back so fucking fast and try to rectify their mistake. Willie doesn't give a shit. Oh, that's Willie. Oh, that's Willie. Oh, that's just Willie. Well, maybe it fucking shouldn't be. Maybe it's a massive character flaw in the guy and it shows up every fucking season. How does that happen? How does that happen coming out of the break? You had a 3-game streak there before the Olympic break. You come back and you have a chance to salvage your season. And most teams believe in themselves. They believe in each other. They want to come together. They want to do something special. And their effort level, that's all it is. I mean, people are like, oh, that's a cop-out. It's not a fucking cop-out. That is the reality of this team. They do not put in the effort. They don't try hard enough. They don't play with intensity. They don't have a level of compete that is conducive to the NHL. And they fucking embarrass themselves all the time. And I'm getting pretty sick of watching it. Now we're talking about some serious dark days ahead because of the situation they've put themselves in. Craig Berube is going to take the fall for it. All the spotlight's on him right now. And I'm not saying Craig Berube is the greatest coach in the world, and I'm not saying he shouldn't get fired. But teams have won with a million different systems. At the end of the day, it's just a commitment to doing things a certain way. And they haven't even bothered to commit to anything. And you need leadership to do that. I just can't tell you how embarrassed of this organization and the players, number one, on my mind, the problem here. And it's not the first time this has happened. The entire beginning of the season was this way. And they're in the spot they are because of the players, if you ask me. And yes, the coach's head's going to roll because of it. But it's just such bullshit what we have to watch over and over again.
Yeah, for me, they just given up, and it did not make sense because they rode a little momentum into the Olympic break. And again, mind you, you give it to them. Like the Tampa game, the effort level was there, but then the all familiar game in Sunrise, where just that was appalling. I know we didn't have you on Friday, but that was an ugly, ugly scene in Sunrise. And then you don't get up for a game Saturday night, Battle of Ontario, a team that you had a pretty good, strong series against, 6 games last spring, and that's what you bring to the table. Like it's really scary stuff. It really is. And there's a lot of conversation again after that game about Hart and quit. And I think for me the telltale sign if this team's quit or not, the captain comes out. The most candid we've heard Auston Matthews in his tenure as the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he talks about pride. He talks about having more pride, and for me that's a telltale sign that the team's quit. If the captain's coming out and talking about pride, like that's the number one thing. You're in the NHL, and you could tell too that they were trained on what to say because every guy paraded out one after another and talked about how much of a privilege it was to be a Toronto Maple Leaf and to play in the NHL.
Well, it's probably because of a speech that was given to them at some point in time during that shit show. And Craig Berube's comments I thought were super telling. And, I feel for the guy. Again, I don't think he's the greatest coach on the entire planet. I'm not going to bat for him. I'm not saying he's the Messiah or any of that, but I feel for him in the fact that he has come in here and tried to get something out of the team that they haven't had before. Let's go back to when they hired Craig Berube. They had a good team. They kept coming up short in the playoffs. They were missing something that they kept getting beat by teams that had it. The Floridas, the Bostons, the Tampas. They hired Craig Berube to play with some snot, with some tenacity, with some pride, and inject some character, and to do things the right way that would get you over that hump to beat those opponents in the playoffs and get them to where they needed to go. So in comes Craig Berube with a track record of coaching that way and demanding that. Accountability was a huge word they used. Here the guy comes. Here's what you need to do. Here's the message. And those players went the opposite direction. They went the other way. What does that tell you about them? They are not willing to do it the right way. They don't have it in them. There's nobody in the room that can garner the group and say, let's come together and lead them there and show them how it looks. And they are in the place that they are right now because of those things. It is embarrassing to me that everyone unanimously across the board agreed that these are the intangibles that they're missing in the playoffs. We watch them time and time again. Game gets a little heavy. Game gets a little intense. Some pressure gets pressed on you. Game 5, 6, or 7 of a playoff series against take your pick, and they absolutely collapse. They don't have it. So you need to bring in this Craig Berube style of thing, play with some edge, play with some intensity. Gone. Nothing. They go the opposite direction. It's pathetic, if you ask me. And now some serious questions are being asked, and rightfully so. I just have no idea what is in store for this organization at this point, seeing what we're seeing right now.
I'll be honest. I expected a coaching change on Sunday, not just from Los Angeles, but the Maple Leafs. I'm pretty stunned that Craig Berube's still the head coach on this Monday, and it's more about a mercy firing. Like we know it's coming. Just move on. Look, yeah, I guess so. But I almost at a point where it's like Berube probably wants it. He probably wants it because you're right. Accountability was a big word that was used to describe what they were looking for in Craig Berube, and defense. Well, they don't play defense, and he's pretty much held nobody accountable. We don't know what happens behind the scenes. We don't pretend to know what happens behind the scenes. But it's the same old Maple Leafs. Watching that game Saturday, watching that game Thursday, it's the same old Maple Leafs. And Rosie, I don't care. You know where it starts? At the top. It's the big boys. And I can't say I saw anything visibly from any of those guys on Thursday and Saturday specifically that told me they're any different than they were 3 or 4 years ago. Would you agree?
No, there's not. What would they have possibly shown in some of the most embarrassing losses, which they have a plethora of them on their track record? What about those two? What did they do that would suggest anything else? In my mind, they're, like you say, it starts at the top. They're like a root cause of the problem. Mm-hmm. They don't dig deep. They don't play with any intensity. Willie's too fucking cool to try. Fuck. Oh, my fucking dipsy doodle, little fancy bullshit blew up in my face. It's going the other way, and now we're getting booed off the ice, and jerseys are getting chucked, and they might tear the whole fucking. Who gives a fuck? I'm not even gonna bother to like try to pretend to care because what else do you say about it? I'm not being mean. The guy dips it, completely turns it over, and everyone else in the league would fucking crank it back and go, God damn it, give me that back. And he just does a one-footed stop like it's fucking skate around at the beginning of practice, stops and looks and watches the other guys fucking handle his mistake and back check and try to rectify the problem. He can't even be bothered. He's too cool. And it drives me nuts. And I just, over the last 10 years with those three guys, those superstars, like you can't say trade them. You're not going to get anything back that's going to make your team any better. And you need star power. You need high-end talent to do anything in the league. You're not getting it anywhere else. It just so happens that our three stars that we all drafted in the same point in time, in the same era, came up, and not one of them had any fucking heart. Not one of them had any jam. Not one of them had any leadership. And not one of them had any level of compete that would be at the level of NHL playoff caliber. And it's, you watch those two games. How can I not be mad? How can you watch that game against Ottawa? 2 fucking shots. People are pointing the finger at Craig Berube. You could have brought an American Hockey League team who had never been coached by anyone and thrown him out there and said, just go play hockey. They would have mustered a hell of a lot more than 2 shots just out of sheer try. They didn't try. It's as, and there used to be light at the end of the tunnel and options and things to think ahead to. What are we thinking ahead to? What's going to fix this? Who's coming to save the day? Some fucking coach is going to get more out of those guys. They've had 3 of them, all different styles. None of it was good enough to get anything out of these guys. And now, yeah, man, it's big problems in Leafs land, big problems. And there isn't a single person in the organization or outside who has the answer, because I think they're that fucked.
Yeah, that's my thinking too, is like, what does the future look like? I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, we want to circle back next year and be a contender. I just do not view it that way, unless you're bringing in a messiah or making a crazy trade where you're just definitely winning it. Like, I think they're going to continue to go the opposite direction, and that's what scares the hell out of me. I brought this up on Friday. I had a couple rants myself where I'm like, this team is in one. Like, this week's just window dressing for me. Like, what are they really going to do that's going to alter the franchise substantially? Like, you're taking care of business at this point. You're looking at some of your rental pieces, guys like McMahon and Lawton, but a lot of your heavy lifting is not being done now. Like, it's something you're kicking down the road, and that's why I don't expect much from this week. I think you just have to do a couple things for sure.
Like, why do you think they want to move these pieces? Like, say, an OEL as well. Like, you just, at his age and the year he's having, it's kind of a surprise, a pleasant surprise, but you can't, you basically are betting on who's going to do what in the future. The odds of him being this good, let alone better, in the future for the rest of his contract are quite low at his age. So, but he's got the experience and he's having a damn good year. He's valuable. So you go and get the draft picks that you can. Do you wait for those draft picks to develop to come save the day? So we're talking 3-4 year rebuild. Exactly. If you're lucky, if you hit the pick properly, or flip those picks in the summer for other things. Okay. Like, hopefully who's got the ability to do that as far as a general manager? Is Tree doing that? Is he going to do that? Is he going to be given the reins? Who are those players? I mean, I think that's your best bet to win now, is flip those guys and try to bring in some new blood into this organization. It's just, who is that guy? How do you get the deal over the finish line? And how is that guy impactful enough player that you take what you got from like an OEL and Bobby McMahon or a Scott Lawton and make your team competitive? I don't know, man. It's it is odd, because the stuff that they had last year and the fall off this year is drastic. Maybe they can be a little bit better next year, but like, this market wants a Stanley Cup, and that's so far out of reach right now that I think it's scaring a lot of people.
Well, that's the key. It's like, okay, maybe they can be around a playoff spot this time next year where they're like 2 to 4 points, or maybe they're in a playoff spot by a point or two. I don't see a turnaround, a drastic turnaround where all of a sudden the Maple Leafs are vying for first in the division again. And that's what scares me. And we talked about this with Pagnotta on Friday. I'm like, well, what's the goal here? And clearly the goal is to make the playoffs. They've lost sight of the actual goal and the plot, and that's to win a Stanley Cup. It just feels like this team, this organization, they're disconnected. There's not a lot of, not everybody's thinking along the same lines. You got different people in different roles, but I'll be honest, I mean, it's a really frightening time to cover this team and to watch this team, be a fan of this team, because I don't know what's to come over the next 6 to 8 months. Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. Our buddy MRush89 sends us 2 Super Chats to kick off today's show. Got in support of Sick Kids. #1, Hildeby, Quillen, and Cowan should play the NHL rest of the year. Move Stolarz, others for assets. With Berube gone, college free agents might be willing to come, and lots might take trade, then re-sign too. Then he adds, with 34 embarrassing comments, plus losers are not letting up over Trump. Why the fuck would he stay? His health is a huge worry still. Move him with 2 years left. Get a haul while you can. Johnston plus Harley. That's not going to happen. Wyatt Johnston's a better player right now than Auston Matthews. And on top of that, you can't forget Matthews dictates all this. So do all these guys. I mean, Morgan Riley can come back this summer and be like, I don't want to go anywhere. Nylander could say the same thing. That's the problem too, is like people want to trade these guys. They got to accept these trades too.
Oh, there's so many things that need to go right for this team to get better. I wasn't of the ilk to move a goaltender, because then you're one injury away, which whatever goaltender's left, if you move one, is very prone to not being in the lineup. Then all of a sudden you got Akhtiamov and Hildeby as your goaltenders for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But being in the situation they're in right now and the dire straits that they find themselves, I'm more open to moving a goaltender, to moving a Stoli perhaps, and seeing what you can get for that and having Hildeby step in. I mean, is that like the one positive thing that we have coming out of this year is the emergence of Hildeby and how capable he has proven to be so far this year. Maybe desperate times call for desperate action, and you need to move one of those goaltenders as well as an OEL and as well as McMahon, and just see how much you can get. And I mean, at the very least, this team needs different. They have done different though. And I just worry that it's what's the common theme in the last 10 years? Like what are the constants? They've changed a lot of the pieces around the outskirts. They've changed the general managers. They've changed the head coaches. They've moved everything around that they possibly could to win. And they are in as embarrassing of a spot as they have been in that 10 years. I'd say is right fucking now is as embarrassing as it gets. Even the giving away Montreal and the Columbus loss. And this is as embarrassing as I think they've been. And the constants are the core group of guys around here. I mean, that's just a fact. I'm not picking. I'm not being over the top. That's a fact. And that's what worries me. And I just wonder, okay, tinker and retool. We're fucking, it's far ways away from tinkering, getting this thing on track. Look at the games we just watched. That is heart. That is character. And this team has always lacked it when it matters.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this isn't for me as much about talent as it is for desire and heart and determination and urgency and presence. It's just like they get paid the money, they get everything they want. They being a lot of these players, they show up and then they go home. And it just doesn't seem like the passion is there. It's really, really disappointing stuff. The Flyers in town tonight. Speaking of which, make sure after the game, the Leafs Nation After Dark is a can't-miss show right now with Zach Phillips throughout the season, of course. But he's going to come equipped with hot takes for that game, so make sure you check it out after the final whistle. And Brian Burke, this should be a good one. Brian Burke, your former GM here in Toronto, dropping by in about 10 minutes. I'm curious to get his perspective on deadline week and what he expects the Maple Leafs to do here over the next couple days.
Yeah, big time. Be interesting to ask Berkey a lot of questions about a lot of things and see where he's at on it. That's all there is around this team right now is questions, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. Well, tons of them. I got tons for Berkey as well. At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. This episode is brought to you by Tim Hortons. Feel that buzz in the air? That's because roll-up season is officially back. You can still play on the cup while supplies last. And even don't forget, you can also play on the Tim's app for even more chances to win just for doing what you already do, grabbing your Tim's. Roll-up season runs until March 22nd. So don't wait and miss your chance. For more details, visit timhortons.ca/rollup. Roll up to win only at Tim's. So this could be the last time the home crowd sees Bob McMahon and Scott Lawton and Simone Benoit and others, man. It's hard to believe the final home game prior to the NHL trade deadline for the Maple Leafs here, Rosie.
Yeah, what you do.
What do you expect tonight, Rosie?
I mean, I'm not holding my breath for anything, man. These guys just don't cease to amaze you with what they can do.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole and the gross thing is, like, everyone's talking about, well, everyone was all over the team when they made this team and made the tweaks and made some of the moves. They're going, this can still be a goddamn good team if they kind of rectified some of the issues and some of the things that were a little bit light. And if that kind of works, this team could be like a contender. Everyone thought that at the beginning of the season for the most part. Yep. And now it's just unanimous. Oh, they're not good enough. Look at the garbage. Look at the garbage on this team. Well, after Christmas, they actually had some kind of spark of something, and they did it the right way. What was that, lucky or something? Were they getting the bounces in those 10 or 12 games? No, they fucking committed to everything. And I mean, like a Nicholas Waugh, where the fuck have you been? Like, you play hockey? I thought this guy was going to make an impression and make a difference and be a staple on the bottom six to really, keep things on track and elevate. There is one game that I noticed him, and it was against the Florida Panthers during that 10-game streak after Christmas, where they were playing so intense, they were so committed, they were so connected, they were just simply committed to chasing down the pucks and forechecking and causing the turnovers and being in layers and supporting it, and they were just chomping at the bit and all over the place. And the Florida Panthers said, all right, enough of this bullshit. And they just put the Florida Panthers stamp on the game, tried to run them out of the barn and say enough of this shit. And the Leafs just went even more throttle and just stopped them in their tracks. And they just went, fuck, we are stunned. We don't have it. That's what this year was supposed to be. They did it there one time. That was the Nick Waugh where made 2 big fucking hits and kind of got the whole place razzle-dazzling. And that's just the blip on the radar where they did it for that stretch of time. And why they couldn't find that earlier in the season, I don't know. Why they couldn't continue that on, why they wouldn't have that after the break, why they wouldn't have that against Tampa, against Florida, and Saturday night against the Ottawa Senators. I don't know, but they're capable. Like, the team is good enough to do it if you do the right things. That's why the Craig Berube is sitting there going, I show them the video. I show them where they're coming up short. I show them the lack of everything we ask of them. I show them the disconnect, but I can't inject a heart into their fucking chest. I can't inject character into themselves. I can't. And he's right. And he's going to get fired. And that's probably the only logical move to make. But, like, why don't they just commit to doing what he's fucking asking? Again, they go the other way. They went the opposite direction. They brought in the missing ingredient and they shied away so much. They went the other direction with their commitment and their intensity. And it just, where that leaves this group and what it says about them and their core, it's not good at all. It's fucking gross. It's not worthy of the NHL, and it's not worthy of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I mean, that's Saturday night's an exclamation point on it. It's pathetic.
The word I keep getting back to, though, is accountability. Like, even in that Florida game, Willie makes that massive mistake. You would think he should sit for a long period of time, but we really haven't seen that from Craig Berube. It leads me to believe these guys have all the power, and it doesn't matter who the coach is.
I guess. I mean, remember at the beginning of the season with him kind of barking at Willie and them asking about, like, ooh, you yelled at Willie. Ooh, you yelled at Willie. What if you lose him? What if he shuts down? Like, that's the fucking worry nowadays when you're coaching these guys, is you can't say anything bad because they'll shut down and you'll lose them for 2 weeks. That's the mental fortitude of kids these days. I'm not saying Willie in particular. Willie seemed to be the guy that could, handle it or whatever, have the big boy conversation with the coach of, but like, I think Craig has like called that out. He has shown the video. He says, Willie, like, you need to be better than this. Like, we're holding you to a higher standard because of who you are. This shit needs to stop if we're going to go and get where we need to go. And he probably sits in the video and nods his head and then just goes out and does whatever the fuck he wants anyways. Like, that's what all, by all appearances, that's what it is. And again, the guy doesn't demand something of himself. Like, do you think, the leaders that we see in the league, it's not magic. You see what they do, how they conduct themselves, and the standard they hold themselves to. And the guys on this team just don't do any of that. It's just right there for everyone to see. Again, I don't think it's my opinion. I think this is the factual information that anyone can look and see.
Very puzzling at the very least. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're about 5 minutes away here from Brian Burke dropping by the podcast once again. But even looking back at the game over the weekend, and it's tough to really dissect and break down, but like, you knew, and even watching and listening to what they had to say after the game, Craig Berube, I guess, had something to say in the second intermission, and like, you show some jam and some fight in the third period, like, way too late. Where was that for the first period? Where was that for the second period, where the Sens kept answering and Kachuk's dragging you into the fight, and Cousins and all these guys, and then the third period, like, that's when you decide now is the time to shed my mitts and show that I care. It's really puzzling. That's the big word I would use today, puzzling.
Well, yeah, like October, November, December wasn't an ounce of that. And sure could have used it. Could have used some grit and some intensity and some tenacity and some passion to try to invoke someone to wake up and to say enough is enough. Nobody ever, what are you going to say, enough is enough on the third period and on Saturday night when your season is blown right out your ass? What the fuck is that going to do? It's done. The ship has sailed. It has left the port. You're toast. What gives a shit what you do right now? Cares if they fire Berube right now? It's done. You are cooked. You needed that attitude in the first 3 months of the season, and there was none. And that is, at the end of the day, how you played the first 40 games or whatever the hell it was, is the reason you had no chance in scratching or clawing your way back into the playoff mix. You're too far gone. You lost too many games. You had too many shitty performances. Too many games came and went where no one did a goddamn thing to change the narrative. Too many weeks passed where you're dropping points left, right, and center, and no one stood up and grabbed a guy or got pissed off or fucking lost it or ran a goalie or jumped a guy or fucking lost his mind or got kicked out of a game or kicked a garbage can or held a fucking team meeting where someone demanded that enough is enough, that we're going to come together and stop this goddamn thing and give everything we have to this team to see if we can rectify the season. It never happened. Nobody fucking did it. Nobody stood up and was that guy, because I don't think they have it in the room. Like a fucking little bit of a scrum in the third period of Saturday's game. What are you talking about? Kidding me with that? It's nothing.
My grandest concern now is how infectious this toxicity can be. Like, Matthew Nyes is in a really rough spot. He's lost identity. He doesn't know what he is as a player anymore. We see, like, Saturday's the time you're bringing Easton Cowan back in. Like, that was the big decision finally after a month of not playing. Easton Cowan's going to play on a Saturday night after a disappointing loss against the Florida Panthers. And I would get Cowan the hell away from this. I'd put him in the AHL. But Nyes is the big one for me, where the more and more games you roll together and that's the way you play. Like, dude, I don't know what the hell that was. I think it was on the fourth goal where he collided with Giroux and the Sens just grabbed the puck and they score. And Nyes looks stunned, and then he's pulling like the old, like, oh, I'm battered, like I'm shit. You know, when you're like not faking it, but you're like, oh, it really hit me hard. It was a weird play, but like, I feel like that's my concern now, is this type of shit seeping into the guys I view as like the next wave.
It is worrisome. I mean, we don't know. We're not privy to how healthy Matthew Nyes is.
True.
The thought and the hope was that he would get himself, a young man who has every resource available to him would get healthy during that over 3 week. You're just watching it there.
It's tough, man. Tough.
Like, did he jam up his hip, or like, again, we're not privy to his injury status, what he even hurt, how healthy it is. Is he 100%? Is he not? Is he falling off? Is he losing it? Is this toxic attitude in the room funneling down to guys like him? I'm not ready to say that, but man, there's not a lot of redeeming qualities in this team right now, or players that you're excited about. He was always one of them. He still is, but
yeah,
again, we can only speculate on how he feels or what's going on with his health. It's just, yeah, it's like they don't even realize there's 20 some games left. Like, you're embarrassing yourself already. There's a bit of a road ahead of you here that you have to play, and it is the NHL, and it is the Toronto Maple Leafs, and just to save face, just for your own, just for your own, the look of yourselves and who you are as a person and a player, you better find something better than this, just to finish off the season with some ounce of pride. But again, going back, like I said about the beginning of the season, they don't readily go to that place. That's not their automatic, like, no. Oh, bullshit, I'm not putting up with this. I will rectify this situation right now. That's not their default. That's not even close. Like, for them to have a little pushback, like, anytime now, boys, anytime now you want to show that you have some pride and some character in that room, like, it's toast already. You're cooked. You're already fucked yourselves. But I mean, we'd love to see it at some point when you get tired of humiliating yourself, because this is as low as they've been in a long time, and they've had some low points in the organization in this era, and now you're just like limp dicking it into the playoffs are sailed. Like, the trade deadline, we'll see who's left here to finish off the season, but it's just never ceases to amaze me how bad they can look and how little of a response they can have to it.
In support of sick kids, Evan writes in, Willie needs to go. Careless attitude is contagious. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of these debates over the next couple months. What does the future look like for Matthews? Ditto for Nylander. Any player on this roster at this point. But it's still a stunner to me to have to think back to September, where, again, I felt pretty decent about where this team was at, even post-Mitch Marner era, to where we're at now, where they're just playing out the string. There's not even like 5 games left. Like, they're finished with like 22 games left. That's like a quarter of your season, not to mention what's transpired the first half of this season. It's that's the thing that gets me. It's like, I envision Hayes scratching and clawing, and they'd be around, 3-4 points within a playoff spot out and in. But to think that they're this far back where they're cooked, they're finished, and we're not even at the deadline yet,
And what sucks, like, with the Star and the Willie and the Matthews conversation is, like, you just don't come across that kind of talent. It's once in a while, and then to get 2 of them on your roster, it's just rare. And to move on from them, you just can't fill it back up with that amount of talent and ability. And Willie's ability is he's just gross at hockey. Unfortunately, he knows it. And Matthews' ability to score goals, he has proven, is generational. But unfortunately, the other things, and to me, it bothers me because these are the things that are free. These aren't the rare things that, I mean, there's a guy that's working in a fucking mine right now who has, the character and the desire. And there's guys that do other things that aren't these generational talented athletes who, they find the stuff, like, it's free. My point is, you don't have to be touched by the hand of God talent wise to do the things that they're lacking. It's just about just getting out of your comfort zone, being uncomfortable, putting yourselves through some things, refusing to stop when things get difficult. And with Willie and Auston, like, we've watched them long enough where they that's not their number one characteristic about them. I wonder if they have it at all. Like, their claim to fame is they just aren't there when they need to be. And They have all the talent in the world, but the rest of the things that you need, especially in the National Hockey League, aren't apparent. They're not there. So for that reason, I sit here and wonder, well, how the fuck could you possibly win with them leading the charge if they have proven over and over and over and over and over again that they don't have those qualities and aren't willing to go and force them? What do you do? How else do you not consider moving if you want to get to where you need to go? What's like, they've given them chance and chance. It's not like this is 3 years or 4 years. It's been a decade of this shit. And I don't know, man. It really sucks that they're that talented and they're not willing to do what's being asked, whether Craig Berube comes in or Babcock comes in or they have Keith petting them or whoever the fuck it is. They're just not willing to do the hard stuff. And it's it will go down as the marker of this era and of this generation of Maple Leafs. It really sucks because the rare thing that you need, they already have that. That is in Willian and Matthews. But the thing that I don't know, that I guess you can't teach it. They don't have that. And I mean, all you gotta do is watch Saturday, and that's proof in the pudding right there.
I didn't want to watch Saturday. I was there. I had to watch it. That was a disgrace of a performance. It really was. And the unfortunate nature, we've seen that so many times over and over and over again. You almost become numb to it. Like, we saw it on Thursday in Florida. And then that's how you combo it up. You come out Saturday, division rival, again, a team you played against in the playoffs last year. You would think you'd be frothing, waiting for that matchup. They score the first goal, and then just the rest was downhill. Ottawa had the puck the rest of the night. Got new lines at the morning skate, by the way, if anybody cares about the game tonight. Philadelphia in town. I would say the Leafs have handled Philadelphia. They've won 9 of the last 10 meetings. They're 2-0 against them this season. A Scott Laughton revenge game. Ironically enough, this could be his final game or home game, maybe even final game as a Maple Leaf. Like, he's certainly on the block right now, but they're going with McMahon, Matthews, Nylander, Nyes, Tavares, Domi, Michelli, Waugh, Joshua, Lawrence, Lawton, Cowan, which means Robertson and Yarncroke, are your projected scratches. Then in the back end, one change. Stetcher out, Myers in. Remember Phil Myers? He's playing with OEL tonight. That's the projection at least. And Anthony Stolarz will start this game against Philadelphia.
All right, who's coming out on the back end, sorry?
Stetcher.
So you scratch Robertson and Stetcher, the only guys who apparently appear to give a rip out there.
Yeah.
Are going to be watching. Okay. All right. Interesting stuff. Yeah. Take that for what it's worth. Whatever. I don't know what's what's motivating these. How am I supposed to get? You had your season really stutter stepping at the beginning of the year. You're in jeopardy of missing the playoffs. You have a chance now with 3 games before the Olympic break, winning all those. You've had motivation to bring your best a multitude of times this season. Never really able to find it, and now we're gonna what's motivating these guys? I have no idea. I hope it's just not to stop being embarrassed and stop having the whole hockey world talk about how embarrassing you are. I guess that might be their motivation here against Philly. I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see what they even come up with. But yeah, I guess those are your lines for tonight, guys.
Hooray. And that's been the big problem with this team. You never know who's going to show up. There's no consistency at all to their game. There hasn't been for a long, long period of time. They could easily come out and be outstanding tonight for all we know. Like, it would be very Leafy if they did that. But looks very grim, man. 8 points out with 22 games remaining. I'll stop bringing that up after today's show. They're finished. They're not making the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think it's interesting, too, that the Florida Panthers, same number of points out, but the direction, the conversation, and I get why, is a lot different with that team. Even Ottawa, they needed that one badly over the weekend. They got the job done. A lot of these teams are starting to figure things out in time for the deadline, in time for the stretch run of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The bigger story for me is, I don't know how they look pretty good going into that break. I know Vancouver's Vancouver, but the game in Calgary, get the job done. Then you go into Edmonton in the back-to-back, and I know that team's leaky defensively, but they play well. Again, the one constant is that there was no Morgan Riley in the lineup, but I don't know if one player changes everything. Maybe it does for a team. But it was more like the effort level against Florida that got me. and the Ottawa Senators. I was fine with that loss against Tampa. They're a great team. They were awesome that night. Kucherov, like sometimes you tip your cap. It was more so like the effort level Thursday and Saturday that really, really got me thinking, like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, and like you go to the Florida Panthers in the same, like having a rough year, right? In the same spot. Why is no one worried about them? Because they've proven they have the character in there. They have intensity. They have tenacity. They have dogs. They have guys that want to compete, that love to compete, that love being in the driver's seat in one of those tough, intense games. They love being in those. Our guys, not so much. Yeah, someone might show up tonight again. The easy game against Philly that is on a Monday night. Yeah, someone might show up and pop off and they'll pad their stats and fucking congrats to you. But the reason no one's worried about the Florida Panthers and everyone's worried about the Leafs is just that. We have never shown that we have the character necessary to get yourself back on track and to do the right things. It's always been a dropped ball when they get tested. Every time when you need to close out a series, when you need to claw back into your season, when you need to show up when it matters, like for years and years and years, and every different situation you can think of, they drop the ball and fail the test. And the Florida Panthers have done the complete opposite, and rightfully so. No one's worried about them. They will fix their issues and rectify their problems, and they'll be back on track. And who knows what the future holds from them? But there's a lot of reason to be hopeful about it. Not so much with the blue and white right about now.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're still hoping to connect here with Brian Burke, but we'll see what happens in that front. What was your reaction to the way the Leafs went about things, honoring or recognizing, maybe the Olympians is a better word? They didn't do anything pregame. They did it at the first TV timeout. And sort of a mixed bag in terms of a reception for the captain, Auston Matthews, Saturday night.
Yeah, like, to be honest, all I saw was applause and standing ovation and clapping. I was
there. It wasn't all.
If there was there muffled? I mean, to me, I was like, it sounds pretty positive. What you need to understand is that there's a barn full of Canadians who have to clap for Team Canada losing to the United States. So if there's a little bit of going on, I get that. I don't think there was much there as far as political and elbows up and all that bullshit. I didn't really see it. I didn't think it was much, but you were there. What percentage do you think was ovation, and what percentage do you think was, I guess it would be boos?
Yeah, I mean, people piping in the chat, maybe it's Senators fans too. That's fair because it is the Battle of Ontario. I would add too, waiting by the room after the game, the Leafs exiting the ice, something was said by a fan. I won't repeat what was said, but they were not very pleased. I would suspect it was towards the captain because of what was said. But
come on,
somebody called him a fucking traitor. He was walking off the ice and somebody said, "You fucking traitor." Then the security got involved and it's like, watch your language. It was so stupid.
But traitor to who? A traitor to who? Traded against who? Yeah. An American playing for America, and you're a traitor.
Yeah. I was confused, honestly. I was confused. I'm like, wait, who's the traitor? What?
Traded who?
Yeah.
He's American. He won the gold medal for America, went to the White House. Pretty standard stuff, guys. People are dumb. I really dislike when politics get involved in sports, to be honest with you. But no, I watched the video from whatever I could tell. Pretty normal stuff considering. Like, let's say he was Canadian and won the gold medal for Canada and then went, I don't know, and shook a politician's hand that a lot of people don't like. And then they booed him for that. They'd be like, wow, there's no way around that. There's no sugarcoating it. People were actually booing the Canadian guy for winning the Canadian, right? But he's an American who won the American gold medal in hockey, being ovationed for it in Canada. Of course, there's going to be some jars or some people that are like, I don't give a shit that he plays for the Leafs. I don't like that. I can't believe they just reminded us of that. I get that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was perplexing. I'll be honest. I'm like, wait, who's the traitor? Isn't he? I was like, he's American, isn't he? Like, I don't know. People were laughing about it a bit. But I mean, to answer your question, There was mostly applause, but audible jeers in the crowd. But again, could have been Senators fans. It could have been much worse. I think the Leafs are pretty smart. Their timing, where they put it into. But again, I like the fact that the bench is clapping, the coach is behind. So in the end game, that's all that matters. And a big moment certainly for Auston Matthews. But I will say this: since coming back, he hasn't been very noticeable. Maybe his head's in the clouds just a bit, and I just feel like you're the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs and you steer the ship sometimes. And I look and watch his game so far. For the majority of the season, I'll be frank, just hasn't been that level of what I'm looking for from a guy that makes that much money. Is wearing the letter, too.
No shit. He's been a ghost all year long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a good stretch around Christmas, remember?
Yeah, I remember the stretch around Christmas. That's where everybody put it together and played hockey and had some fucking balls and went and played with some integrity. Yeah, the rest of the season is, I know who the captain is. I know what he looks like out there when things aren't on track. And I watch and see what his response is when things aren't on track. And it's not much anything, to be honest with you. I've watched enough playoff games and just abouts and almost and real closes and all that BS. And it's just obvious that you can just watch and say they're not doing what needs to be done to beat the teams on the other side who, any team with any salt has got the guys that are going to do the things that need to be done. And Craig Berube was brought here to get more of that out of them. He asked for it. They went the opposite direction. They didn't try to bear down even harder. They didn't try to adopt his system of, chasing down pucks and taking time and space and being relentless. They went the opposite direction. They stood and watched and fucked the dog and shrugged their shoulders and got embarrassed. And now they're at the spot that they are. I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. How do you not see it? How do you not feel it? With the pushback that you have when you face adversity is literally zero. You just keep eating it. Like, how do you not notice that? Oh shit, we're going through this again. We got to rectify it. We have to come together and do something. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. We got to get out of our comfort zone and do it. Why do they not notice that? Do they just like getting shit kicked all the time? They like being embarrassed. They like limp dicking it off the ice after a fucking pathetic 2 periods to booze when you're playing for that team. You know how fun it is to have that city behind you? Why wouldn't they want that? Why wouldn't they dig deeper? They never have a response. They never get mad. They never look mad after a game. They never look mad when the wheels are falling off. Nobody runs anyone through the fucking wall. Nobody screams and is just leaking. So no one does a Darcy Tucker. No one does any of the stuff that would be needed in the NHL to play hockey and get things back on track. No one does any of it. It doesn't cross their mind, is what it looks like. And here is where we are again. It's so frustrating, man. I run out of ways to spin it around in my head on what this is. But again, the common theme every goddamn time is the same type of guys that aren't doing enough to rectify it.
I'm numb to it. I really am. Oliver Ekman-Larsson about the deadline. We love it here. We're happy here. I just want to be here. It's like he stole my quote or something. Berube on scratching Robertson Stetcher tonight. I have to make decisions in the lineup. I feel Nicky's game has dropped off even before the break a little bit. He's going to get a reset today, similar for Stetcher. So essentially, is what he's telling us. He's got to sit 2 guys out in favor of 2 other guys. He's got no answers. He has 0 answers. Does Craig Berube? And again, I'm a bit shocked that he's still the coach of this team. And it's not because I don't think he's a good coach. I just think he has lost the room, or whatever the cliche is. Like, they're not playing for him. They're not playing the way he wants to play anymore. So, like, why is he still here is the question.
So we're going to go back to playing. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
well,
exactly it.
Again, like, unanimously, it was agreed upon that the team that we saw had a lot of pieces, but they were missing these ingredients that they kept being revealed in the playoffs. So here comes a guy who kind of specializes in that and values that. And he took a team and took them when they had nothing and spun it around to them being the best in the world and winning the Stanley Cup playing a certain way. And that's exactly what the Leafs needed. He obviously couldn't do it. He's obviously not going to continue coaching them. I mean, I think that's fairly unanimous. Like, how could you? But okay, so now we're going to take this team and put less of an emphasis on playing hard and playing with intensity and playing a way that Craig Berube wanted them to. Now we're going to go away from that, I guess. We're going to we're going fucking backwards. We are going backwards, and it's because those guys refused to do what Berube asked. I think that if they bought in and did things the way that Berube asked them to, we would be in a completely different place. They would be in a playoff spot and then some. They would be able to beat any team in the league. They just don't have the guys that are willing to do it, man. It's just, it keeps coming back to it.
How much do you pin on the goaltending? Because clearly that's a big story from this season. There's been some pockets where they've been good, but even Anthony Stolarz, his season was doomed from the onset, but he's 1-3-0, 3.51, 8.89 since coming back. He's going to start this game tonight against one of his former teams, but it's pretty crazy. I mean, signs the extension just like days later, nowhere to be found, and misses a big chunk of time and just hasn't been the same Stolarz that we saw last year for this team.
No, it hasn't. But I mean, like, how many times have we been doing this show where we're breaking down a loss and we're saying, can't blame Stolarz for that one, can't blame Wöhler for that one, can't blame Hildeby for that one. Like, if it wasn't for Dennis Hildeby and the way that he played when they needed him, which was a lot this year, a lot more than anyone anticipated, how long would they be doing this song and dance right now where you're absolutely cooked? Like, he was like he's the one positive that I can grab out of this season that was like, well, like that went well. That was a pleasant surprise. Was Hildeby. Stolarz hasn't been himself. He hasn't been as good as he was last year. What's Wool's numbers? He's kind of been up and down too. Obviously been hurt,
Yeah.
But when I think of this season, I don't think, man, if we just had a goalie, we would that's not the story of the season. If you ask me, it's not even close. The problems are so much deeper. Obviously the D aren't playing as well as they did last year. Last year they were better. Everyone said, the goaltending, like, yeah, if you have phenomenal goaltending, there's obviously some breakdown somewhere where you're leaning on your goalie that much. But last year, they kept things to the outside last year. Their D played way better. They're not playing very good this year. That's for sure. The forwards are it's just a calamity of, I guess the bottom line is when I look at this season, it's not if we just had a goalie, we'd be in a different spot. That's not even near my mind when I think about this season and what happened.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where you really can't grab many positives from this disgrace of a year. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's just been one thing after another. By the way, I know a bunch of you in the chat asking for it. Brian Burke, I don't know if it's going to happen today. Maybe we do it later on. Maybe we put it on YouTube. But at some point, you'll hear from Brian Burke here. It was unfortunate. We wanted to hear what he had to say for deadline week today. But, a lot of conversation around this team. And I'm just very curious to see the direction, the moves that are made, because I think once we see the first move unfold, we'll know pretty clearly what the objective is for the week. And I think the curious part about this, we really haven't heard from Brad Treliving or Keith Pelly whatsoever in like the last month and a half, right?
Well, there's some injuries this year, so that's why we are where we are.
A lot
right?
of injuries. Yeah.
We got
Good
some
point.
injuries going on. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we haven't. I mean, I don't really blame them. Like, if you're at the helm of MLSC right now and you're watching what are you going to go announce? I don't have a clue what I can do. I don't know what we can get for Bobby McMahon yet. Everyone's keeping their cards close to their vest. Everyone's waiting to see what happens. No one's going to come and give you, a boatload for the guy right now. You got to wait and you got to play cat and mouse, and the psychology and the trickery and the not being transparent at all is probably, and it would be fun to ask Berkey about it. This is the first time we had a guest not make it after 4 seasons. Impressive, actually. Maybe we can get him down the road later. He's pretty good. I'm sure he got tied up by something, but I don't know what we expect him to say. We're going to try to make the team better. Yeah, well, fucking, that's pretty obvious. That is literally your job. What's the point of saying that? I don't know if they know what they're going to do or what they can do. So I'm not I haven't been surprised we haven't heard them say anything. Like, I think that the stuff that gets released and some of the insiders kind of report some stuff, I'm not surprised about. Like, hey, we were thinking kind of, tinkering, retooling, and now we're thinking, we're at the point where anything's on the table. We're all ears. We'll exercise anything, and we'll do anything at this point in time that makes our team better. I think that's kind of probably where they're at. And if they announce something, I would be surprised. I think they're just going to see what they can do at the deadline. When the dust settles and they've made their moves and there's nothing left to do, they'll probably sit down and look at the cameras and address Leafs Nation and say, here's where we're at and here's what we're thinking and this is our plan. I wouldn't be surprised if that's all we get, because I just don't know what the hell else they would say right now.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. Simple play for me today. Give me the over. I do not trust this team defensively. I think Philadelphia will be fired up. They're still in the thick of things, coming off a loss over the weekend, so I expect a lot of offense tonight at Scotiabank.
Yeah, what do you what am I based on recent events, what am I supposed to bet on here? The Leafs to get fucking filled with an pathetic and inspiring event of zero heart. Okay, I think Auston will try to do something. He hasn't scored since the Olympics. Maybe I'll take the overshot prop on Auston Matthews, seeing if he was trying to get pucks on the net to try to get one to go so he can. That's the only thing he does. That's not true. He does some other things out there, but goal scoring is his claim to fame, and I'm sure he's going to try to get one tonight. Is it ugly in that room when this feeling's going on? I was part of some teams there that were not having success, and it sucks. It sucks. You walk into the room and you're like, here we go, and it's just eggshells, man. Pissed off people. Walk past the GM in the hallway. Fuck, you don't look at him mourning. Oh, God. It's brutal, man. Everyone's pissed. Everyone's whispering. Everyone's tiptoeing. The media's out there through the glass doors. You can't wait to get in there. It's brutal. I would think that, and again, blows my mind that they're not willing to do what it takes to fucking stop that in its tracks as soon as it happens. Back in October, no, let's just do more of the same and see if our talent wins us a bunch of games. It's just brutal, I get, but wrong segment here. I can't stop just fucking reeling, dude. But maybe Auston Matthews will be trying to get a goal tonight, so he will be shooting pucks on the net. Take the overshot prop.
Okay, sounds good. That's going to do it for today as we inch closer to Friday's deadline at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Coming up tomorrow, Rosie, Bruce Boudreau is going to drop by. We're going to get the coach's perspective to the trade deadline. How Gabby feels about this team moving forward, who he'd move, who he'd keep. So that's coming up on tomorrow's show, and I guess we'll recap Leafs Flyers too.
Sweet. Yeah, that'll be good with Gabby. He's always honest and open and has already thought things out and usually a fan of his takes. So it'll be fun to pick his brain, see what this happens with this Flyers game. Again, I don't know. They got a lot of games to play, man. I don't know what it's going to look like. I just for the sake of everyone, I hope they put something together and start playing something to get behind. Would be nice, because this sucks doing these ones, I'll tell you that.
It does, but plenty more to come throughout this season to wrap things up over the final 22. By the way, I saw Donnie write in the chat about what's to expect from us on Friday. We're still going through the logistics of that, but we do plan on doing a show in the afternoon. It won't be the normal 11 a.m. start time for Leafs Morning Take on Friday. We're going to do something in the afternoon. So we'll keep you guys posted as the week goes on. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Thank you for the super chats at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button on the way out at the Leafs Nation 401. Once again, where you can do so. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.